I was 28 years old and living in Buenos Aires, Argentina, when I first decided to change my life by learning English. My name is Carlos, and like many people around the world, I believed that mastering English would open doors to opportunities one could only dream of. But at the time, I felt stuck, limited by my own doubts and by the echo chamber of my native Spanish. Today, I want to share my true story with you, the highs and lows, the moments I wanted to give up, and the breakthroughs that transformed my confidence, career, and worldview. This isn't just a tale of learning vocabulary and grammar. It's a journey of self-discovery, resilience, and the power of a single decision. Growing up in a middle-class neighborhood of Buenos Aires, my family spoke only Spanish at home. English was a distant subject in school, sometimes exciting, mostly frustrating. In classrooms filled with rote memorization of verb tables and long lists of irregular verbs, I never felt like I was really speaking the language. By the time I graduated high school, I could recite the difference between present perfect and past simple, but I still couldn't hold a basic conversation with a tourist on the streets of San Telmo. After university, I landed a job at a local marketing firm. I loved graphic design, and my boss encouraged me to explore international trends online. That's when I discovered YouTube channels from London, New York, and Sydney that discuss design techniques, client management, and freelance strategies, all in English. I remember watching a tutorial on typography where the host joked about the frustration of missing apostrophes. I laughed, but I also realized I had no idea what she was saying. That moment stung. I closed my laptop, wondering if I'd ever catch up. A few weeks later, I received an email from a multinational client in Canada. They wanted to discuss revisions on a logo design. I hesitated. Should I ask my boss to reply? Should I draft a message in Google Translate? The thought of writing back in English terrified me. But I knew that if I didn't try, I'd never improve. So, with trembling fingers, I composed a short email. Thank you for your feedback. I will make the changes and send you the updated file by Friday. I proofread it 5 times, feeling my heart race. And then I hit send. The response came within hours. Thank you, Carlos. Looking forward to seeing your revised design. No corrections, no grammar tips. Just appreciation for my work. That small success lit a fire in me. I realized that native speakers weren't dissecting every mistake. They were focused on the message. At that moment, I decided I would learn English not just to pass exams, but to communicate ideas and build relationships across borders. So I set a goal. Within 1 year, I would speak English confidently enough to hold a 10-minute conversation with a native speaker. It was smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. To keep myself accountable, I created a spreadsheet tracking daily activities, listening, speaking, reading, writing, and a progress bar that turned green each week I met my targets. My first strategy was immersion. I replaced my social media feeds with English content. I followed design influencers on Instagram, subscribed to channels on YouTube, and changed my phone settings to English. I joined an online community for graphic designers where the discussions were entirely in English. At first, every post felt like a code I couldn't crack, but I forced myself to read one article each day, using context clues and a dictionary only when absolutely necessary. Next, I faced the biggest barrier, speaking. My voice shook the first time I joined a language exchange on Zoom. There were 12 participants from all over the world: South Korea, Turkey, Nigeria, and me, the guy from Argentina. When it was my turn, I introduced myself. Hi, I'm Carlos. I'm from Buenos Aires. I work in graphic design. My heart pounded so loudly, I felt sure everyone could hear it. Yet when I finished, 2 people applauded, and one fellow learner said, "Great job, Carlos. I really liked how you explained your work." I felt a rush of pride. Speaking wasn't so scary after all. Every week, I scheduled 2 language exchanges, one with a tutor on Italki and another with a peer partner. I made mistakes, mispronouncing comfortable, mixing up borrow and lend, even saying I'm boring instead of I'm bored, but each mistake was a lesson. I learned to laugh at myself, to ask for clarification, and to use repair strategies like "what I mean is," or "let me try again." Over time, I noticed that my sentences flowed more smoothly, and native speakers understood me without pauses to interpret. Listening comprehension improved alongside speaking. Instead of watching movies with subtitles in Spanish, I switched to English subtitles, then gradually removed subtitles altogether. I devoured podcasts on design, entrepreneurship, and personal development. I discovered The Tim Ferriss Show, TED Talks Daily, and 99% Invisible, and marveled at how much content was out there in English. One morning, while jogging through Palermo woods, I listened to an episode about the psychology of color. I realized I could finally grasp complex ideas without translating them in my head first. Reading and writing followed suit. I challenged myself to write 1 blog post per week on Medium about my design experiences, entirely in English. My first posts were short, 200 words at most, but by month 6, I was comfortably writing 800-word articles. The comments section became a goldmine of feedback from readers in Canada, the UK, and Australia. Some pointed out awkward phrasing. Others praised my insights. I revised my posts, refined my style, and built an online portfolio that showcased not only my design skills, but also my command of English. Halfway through the year, I booked a trip to Toronto to attend a graphic design conference. I remember standing in line at immigration, heart racing, palms sweaty. Would they question my English? Would I freeze during casual small talk? But when the officer greeted me with "Welcome to Canada, how was your flight?" I replied, "Thank you, it was great. I'm excited to be here." And that was it. No stutter, no panic. I walked out into the crisp September air feeling empowered. At the conference, everything felt surreal. I networked with professionals from London, Sydney, and New York. I delivered a 5-minute lightning talk on Latin American design trends, answering questions afterward without notes. Later, a recruiter from a digital agency approached me, impressed by my fluency and perspective. She offered me an opportunity to work remotely for her team, with an English-speaking salary. That moment validated all the early mornings, the embarrassing Skype calls, the endless flashcards. Returning to Buenos Aires, I realized that learning English had changed more than my resume. It had changed my mindset. I had gone from doubting my abilities to embracing challenges. I had built a global network of friends and colleagues. I saw my native language not as a limitation, but as a foundation, something to enrich with new vocabulary, fresh perspectives, and cultural exchange. If you're watching this and wondering where to start, Here's my 3-step formula. Immerse yourself, change your environment to English. Switch your apps, your playlists, your social media. Surround yourself with the language so your brain adapts naturally. Speak fearlessly, use every opportunity to talk, even if it's just a 2-minute introduction in a Zoom group. Embrace mistakes as part of the process. Remember, fluency grows from practice, not perfection. Create real projects. Write blog posts, make videos, start a podcast, apply for jobs, or attend events. By using English to accomplish tangible goals, you reinforce learning through authentic motivation. A year after I started, I hit my original goal. A 10-minute conversation with a native speaker felt effortless. Those 10 minutes turned into 20, then an hour, then an all-day workshop conducted entirely in English. Today, I live a bilingual life, designing in Spanish, marketing in English, moving seamlessly between two worlds. Your journey might look different. Maybe you're 35 and nervous about school again. Maybe you live in Tokyo or Lagos or Paris. But the principles remain the same. Learning English is a marathon, not a sprint. You'll face setbacks, a plateau in listening, a wrenching sense that you'll never sound native. When that happens, revisit your why. Mine was connection, connecting my work to a global audience, connecting with people I'd once only admired from afar. So, take that first step today. Download a language app, book a trial lesson, watch a video tutorial. Set a clear, realistic goal. Speak for 2 minutes without notes. Write a 300-word email. Understand one podcast episode. Celebrate every victory, no matter how small. And after a week, a month, or a year, look back at how far you've come. If my story has inspired you, hit the like button, subscribe for more true story lessons, and share this video with someone who needs a push. Comment below with your own goals and challenges. I'd love to cheer you on. Remember, the world speaks English, but more importantly, you can speak the world. It starts with a single decision, your decision. Let today be that day. Months turned into years, and the skills I'd built during that first transformative year only continued to deepen. I polished presentations in English for international clients, coached junior designers around the globe via video calls, and even collaborated on cross-cultural creative workshops. Yet the journey remained as much about personal growth as about language proficiency. Embracing advanced challenges. After achieving conversational fluency, I sought to push beyond comfort. I enrolled in an advanced business English course at a local institute where lessons weren't about fill-in-the-blank exercises, but simulated boardroom negotiations, crisis management role plays, and persuasive sales pitches. Sitting around a U-shaped table with executives from diverse industries, engineers from Dubai, marketers from Madrid, and financial analysts from Singapore, my accents blended into a mosaic of global English. The vocabulary was more nuanced, the idioms more subtle, and the stakes higher. Here, every word could influence a deal. One memorable exercise was a mock crisis. Our hypothetical company faced a product recall, and we had to draft a press statement, field tough questions from the media, and reassure stakeholders. My heart thudded as the instructor, playing a skeptical journalist, pressed me on liabilities and compensation policies. Drawing on all I'd learned, I maintained composure, clarified legal jargon, and conveyed empathy. When the class applauded my closing statement, We understand the impact on our customers and are committed to addressing your concerns swiftly and transparently. I felt a surge of pride. This wasn't just language, it was leadership through communication, cultural fluency through immersion trips. Language and culture are intertwined, so I took every opportunity to immerse myself in English-speaking environments. After Toronto, I traveled to London for a week of design meetups in Shoreditch. I explored the Tate Modern, engaging in spontaneous conversations with fellow visitors about their favorite installations. I haggled prices at Portobello Road Market, practiced small talk over afternoon tea, and even attempted to pick up Cockney rhymes at a local pub quiz night. Each petty slip, from mispronouncing scone, it's scone, not scone, to misusing lovely as lovely, became a humorous memory and a lesson in cultural nuance. My next destination was Sydney for an international design conference that doubled as a hands-on workshop on sustainable branding. There, an Aussie colleague challenged me to use "no worries" instead of "you're welcome," and to embrace the laid-back day mate greeting. In the sunlit lobbies overlooking Bondi Beach, I presented collaborative projects in English, nodding as diverse participants from rural Queensland to urban Melbourne shared their insights. By the end of the trip, I no longer felt like an outsider. I felt part of a global creative community, leveraging technology for continuous growth. Back home in Buenos Aires, I turned technology into my learning ally. I built custom Anki decks with spaced repetition for idioms and phrasal verbs drawn from real conversations. I rigged my smart home devices, lights, thermostat, even coffee maker, to respond to commands only when I used English phrases I was practicing. I joined Slack channels for tech startups, contributed to open source projects on GitHub, commenting pull requests in English, and set calendar reminders for English-only days, where I'd speak, write, and think exclusively in English for 24 hours. I also adopted voice analysis apps that scored my pronunciation, giving me feedback on stress, intonation, and rhythm. Some days I sounded flat. Other days I achieved a near-native lilt that made me smile. But the key was consistency. Even on days when motivation lagged, I completed at least one microtask, a 5-minute speaking drill, a 10-minute podcast listen aloud, or writing a tweet thread on design hacks. These tiny habits compounded into significant gains. Teaching and mentoring, solidifying mastery through sharing. Perhaps the most unexpected but rewarding phase was when I began teaching. My former tutor on Italki had asked if I'd be interested in mentoring beginners. I hesitated. After all, I was once the shy learner. But I accepted. Guiding others through the same obstacles, hearing their struggles with verb tenses or confidence on calls, reminded me of my own early fears. Crafting lesson plans, explaining tricky grammar points in simple terms, and celebrating their breakthroughs reinforced my own understanding. I started a small YouTube channel, Carlos Speaks English, where I posted weekly tutorials, how to master phrasal verbs in daily conversations, surviving your first English job interview, and 5 cultural tips for networking abroad. My accent remained tinged with Buenos Aires warmth, and that authenticity drew viewers. Subscribers grew, and comments poured in. Gracias, Carlos. Your explanation of "get over" finally clicked for me, or loved your video. I used your tips in an expat event in Berlin, and it went great. Teaching others became a virtuous cycle. As I researched and prepared content, I fine-tune nuances in my own speech and writing, overcoming plateaus and self-doubt. No journey is entirely smooth. Around year 3, I hit a plateau in listening comprehension. Technical webinars with dense jargon, machine learning algorithms, blockchain protocols, global supply chain logistics felt like walls. My strategy was to tackle them head-on. I enrolled in online courses on Coursera and edX in English, not for certification, but to force my brain to parse specialty vocabulary. I paused lectures, replayed segments, took notes, and rewound. Gradually, terms like decentralized ledger and quantum supremacy stopped being alien. They became tools in my expanding lexicon. Self-doubt also crept in when I compared myself to native-level presenters. Watching TED speakers with flawless intonation left me envious. But I realized my strength lay in authenticity. I focused on clear articulation and compelling storytelling rather than mimicry. I reminded myself that English is a global lingua franca, shaped by countless accents and dialects, not a benchmark for native superiority. Celebrating milestones and reflecting on impact today, 5 years after that first tremulous email to a Canadian client, I measure success not by perfection but by impact. I've collaborated with design teams in Tokyo and Stockholm, co-authored an ebook on cross-cultural branding, and given guest lectures at the University of Buenos Aires in English. More personally, I formed friendships with people across 6 continents, sharing conversations about art, music, and life that transcend borders. On my journey, I also learned that language learning is a catalyst for other forms of growth, emotional resilience, cultural empathy, and lifelong curiosity. The same persistence that drove me to review flashcards each morning now fuels my passion for new challenges, learning to code, exploring digital illustration, and even picking up conversational Mandarin. Your next chapter, if you've stuck with this story until now, thank you. I hope my experiences illustrate that true fluency is less about flawless grammar and more about fearless communication, curiosity, and generosity. Your willingness to share ideas openly, learn from mistakes, and connect with others. Wherever you are, whether you're a student grappling with university essays in London, a parent practicing bedtime stories in Vancouver, or an entrepreneur pitching investors in Nairobi, remember that every word you utter in English is a stepping stone to new possibilities. Your accent, your mistakes, your unique voice, they make your story richer, not less valid. So here's how to turn your aspirations into action. Set a transformative goal. Don't just aim to be fluent. Decide on a real-world outcome, giving a webinar, publishing an article, leading a workshop. Your goal should excite and scare you in equal measure. Design a micro-habit system. Break your goal into daily, bite-sized tasks. Even 5 minutes of focused practice compounds if done consistently. Track progress visually, charts, checklists, habit tracking apps to keep motivation high. Create or join a community. Learning in isolation is hard. Find peers online, attend meetups, or start your own study group. Sharing challenges and triumphs with others accelerates growth and accountability. Teach what you learn, whether through tutoring, blogging, or video creation. Teaching crystallizes knowledge. Explaining concepts to others reveals gaps and deepens your understanding. Embrace lifelong learning. Language mastery is not a finish line but a journey. Keep exploring new topics, formats, and contexts. Push into fields that initially intimidate you. That's where the richest learning happens. At 28, I thought English was merely a subject in school. Now, it's a lens through which I view the world, a bridge to ideas, cultures, and friendships I never imagined. Your story is waiting to be written. The next chapter starts when you decide to speak, write, and think in English with purpose. Take a breath, make a plan, and dive in. The world is listening.